Sure.
No, I don't want the Cowboys. That's gonna be too warm right now.
That's too warm right now?
Yeah.
Okay. And when you get the notification, if you still get the notification, some people are...
Got the notification.
Okay. That's a good sign. Some vloggers are still not getting notifications pushed out.
Share.
That one is you. Two people on. Hello, hello. How are you? Lisa's getting set up here. 7 people on. Hello. Lisa's just sharing the video right now. And we will get going. Joanne, Samantha Lowe. Hello, everybody. Phil, what's going on? I didn't get a notification, but kept refreshing. Phil, huh?
I got the notification.
Interesting. Yeah, Lisa got it, but some people... Did you guys get the notification? I've been hearing some YouTubers are not getting it, you know, because of
This
whole thing. So let me know. Let me put on a better light in here. Yeah, maybe that helps a little bit.
Because we actually have a living room light again.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mommy and Daddy.
Hello, everybody. Hello. We'll be getting started in just 1 second. I promise I will not try to take up as much time as we did in the last COPPA live stream, where we went about like 45 minutes. We'll keep this hopefully around the half hour.
Hi.
Gwen, hello. How are you? Hello. Are you ready?
I am ready.
Okay, we're ready to go.
We're ready.
So you guys know why you're here. We're here to talk about COPPA.
Again.
One more time. The last time we're gonna talk about COPPA until they have like
New regulation.
a new something going on, because I feel after December 9th, because you guys can write in to the FTC to explain like your feelings about this law and everything going on.
I don't think you have to anymore.
But, you know, I think there might be something else said. So until that, we will not talk about COPPA, FTC, or anything. So just a quick briefing, recap. We're not going to get into it like we did the last video, because you guys know about it. Every YouTuber has talked about it. You know the premise of what's going on. You know about the lawsuit. I'm sure you do. If not, quick recap. YouTube got fined, what was it, $170 million or something?
Like
something
that.
around that
Settlement,
stuff.
though, I think they only paid like
$35,000 in restitution, something like that. Because
you too, Connor.
yeah, because YouTube had a violation for displaying ads, personalized ads, to kids under the age of 13, which is illegal to do.
Well, because the only reason they were able to put personalized ads on is because they were collecting data
Exactly.
from kids under the age of 13.
And that goes by what you search on, you know, constantly they just kind of figure this out, and poof, there goes those ads that display right there. So, you know, FTC and COPPA, they got together with YouTube and said, you know, you got to fix something, got to do something. And YouTube was like, all right, we're now going to have our YouTubers, our content creators, declare
if they are for kids or not for kids. Which we did a whole video on this on Friday.
Yeah, so you can go to that one. Just to quick sum up on that, YouTube gave content creators 2 choices: for kids, not for kids. And that's it. There's nothing in between. So a lot of people were freaking out. A lot of content creators, because... Including us, because we are safe, family-friendly content creators. Right?
So, the day after we went live, we're doing some research on the internet.
Yeah.
Talking to people, and what do you know? There's actually clarification out there.
There is, and we found this clarification by a social media lawyer
who's on YouTube, who had previously posted a video on COPPA saying he was pretty much just as confused as we all were because it was so vague. And in his new vlog, he went on to say that he had gotten a phone call that explained COPPA even further. And he opened up the entire COPPA policy, not even just specific to YouTube, but the entire COPPA policy. And right there in black and white, COPPA recognizes that there is an exception, that they understand that there is a gray area that people produce material that is friendly for all ages, and that group is not subject to what YouTube is putting out as for kids.
Now, before we get more into that, this is something, when that social media lawyer said this, I looked up too. You know, I clicked on the link and I was like, wow, this is public for everybody to look at. It's in black and white. So Lisa's going to do a little reading. I feel that's just going to be the
Whoa.
best clarification for this.
Keep talking for a little bit because I got to find the section of it.
Oh.
I'm not going to read all of the entire
No.
COPPA policy.
We're not going to read that, just to where it starts getting good.
Okay.
Right here.
How COPPA applies to channel owners.
This is the COPPA rules. You can look at this up as well.
COPPA applies in the same way it would if the channel owner had its own website or app. If a channel owner uploads content to a platform like YouTube, the channel might meet the definition of a website or online service covered by COPPA, depending on the nature of the content and the information collected. If the content is directed to children and if the channel owner or someone on its behalf, for example, an ad network or like AdSense for what we all know, collects personal information from viewers of that content, for example, through a persistent identifier that tracks a user to serve interest-based ads, the channel is covered by COPPA. Once COPPA applies, the operator must provide notice, obtain verifiable parental consent, and meet COPPA's other requirements. And then it goes on if you want to know more information to comply.
Okay, but this is where it gets good, is how channel owners can determine if,
But we already discussed that in our last video.
but this is where you want to be here.
Okay, so.
And this straight from COPPA. This is from
This is technically from the FTC website,
that's
but
right,
it's
FTC.
about COPPA. The determination of whether content is child-directed will be clearer in some contexts than in others, but we can share some general rules of thumb. First, unless you're affirmatively targeting kids, there are many subject matter categories where you don't have to worry about COPPA. For example, if your videos are about traditionally adult activities like employment, finances, politics, home ownership, home improvement, or travel, you're probably not covered unless your content is geared towards kids. The same would be true for videos aimed at high school or college students. On the other hand, if your content includes traditional children's pastimes or activities, it may be child-directed. For example, the FTC recently determined that an online dress-up game was child-directed. Going on.
Almost done with that.
Second, just because your video has bright colors or animated characters doesn't mean you're automatically covered by COPPA. While many animated shows are directed to kids, the FTC recognizes there can be animated programming that appeals to everyone. Third, the complaint in the YouTube case offers some examples of channels the FTC considered to be directed to children. For example, many content creators explicitly stated in the About section of their YouTube channel that their intended audience was children under 13. Other channels made similar statements in communications with YouTube. In addition, many of the channels featured popular animated children's programs or showed kids playing with toys or participating in other child-oriented activities. Some of the channel owners also enabled settings that made their content appear when others searched for the names of popular toys or animated characters. Blah, 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 blah. Finally, if you've applied the factors listed in the COPPA rule and still wonder if your content is directed to children, it might help to consider how others view your content and content similar to yours. Has your channel been reviewed on sites that evaluate content for kids? Is your channel or channels like yours mentioned in blogs for parents of young children or in media articles about child-directed content? Have you surveyed your users, or is there other empirical evidence about the age of your audience?
And that's it. That is straight from the FTC. They put out a blog on Twitter just to clarify this up better. And after reading this, it's like an eye opener. It's like, okay, we're safe. Now, for those maybe watching who don't know who we are Disney
Universal.
theme park travel planning
Having fun.
tips in a
Whatever.
sense, right? That's pretty much what it is. So the Disney, I'm going to go off the Disney community because
We're all pretty
that's what we
similar
are.
in like the types of content we put out.
So here we go. So, like I said, we're just going to talk Disney community because that's what we do. So I gave some examples last time we were live, and I said, well, what if we were at Food and Wine, eating and drinking, and Mickey is behind us, and or pats on the shoulder and now like waves, and we say, hey, Mickey, what's happening? Was that for kids or not for kids? And a couple people said that video is for kids, but actually it is not because of the intent of the video.
The other, and I'm going to quick comment on this. So watching the social media website, and also Dole Whip Dad also did a vlog on this.
As well.
They both actually were in contact with people from the FTC or from COPPA, whatever. And they asked these questions, and they were told that just because Mickey Mouse shows up for 2 minutes of your entire video does not mean that your content is directed towards kids. Other thing we found out from one of these vlogs is, okay, well, if it's black and white right there, that we can, there's that gray area that COPPA is stating, you are the exception. We are not saying you are for kids because your entire content is geared towards all ages. And that you are not covered under this policy.
Because
why?
The FTC understands, as stated when Lisa read, that some content they recognize can be for kids and for adults. So it is family friendly. It's not just geared.
So they asked this question, then why didn't YouTube tell us this?
Exactly.
Why were we only given two options, for kids and not for kids? And why did they not address the gray area that COPPA clearly states it is okay to be family friendly and not be put under for kids? And the simplest
one answer
is YouTube wanted to save a buck.
It's money. Everything in this world comes to money. Let's be honest. It's kind of like a scare tactic in a sense. Now there are some channels, we'll get into that should be worried. We'll get into some of that stuff, and some things that Disney content creators should stay away from as well.
Or if they're gonna post it, market for kids.
But in the overall, we are safe, family-friendly channels,
and we
are not
for kids.
That's right. So some of those, like I said, it was just to save a buck. Because if Google and YouTube can get somebody to choose, freak them out enough, because fear is one of the biggest.
Fear of being fined $42,000 per video freaks everyone out, and hey, we're not going to address this gray area. We're going to give you these two options with this vague list of what could be considered for kids, and you mark your stuff for kids. Personalized ads will no longer appear on your videos, which is a good % of the revenue YouTubers make money off of. YouTube saves a buck that way, because if more people are scared and they market for kids,
or delete their channels in general,
or whatever, YouTube doesn't have to pay them anymore.
Exactly. It comes from fear. It comes from money.
And can I quick say this? People are still commenting saying, the FTC, we told them one size does not fit all. This was not the FTC. The FTC the entire time had it on their website. We recognize COPPA's exception to this. It was YouTube. YouTube was the culprit behind this whole mess.
Now, I will say that every 10 years, the FTC works with COPPA to update and change their law a little bit because they have to get behind new technologies, things like that. Do I feel that the COPPA law needs to change moving forward? Yes, it still needs to be worked on, you know. So at a point, then you kind of figure, like Lisa stated, is YouTube. I'm in the back of my mind going, who is the real enemy on this? Is it, you know, the law that needs to be revised and changed a little bit, and
And
also
FTC is
YouTube
looking
as
into
well?
that as well.
And yeah, the FTC is looking in. They've stated that many times, answered a lot of people's tweets and questions, and said that they are looking into it to change. There was something somebody made a comment. You talk.
Okay, the other thing I wanted to mention is when YouTube sent out this email and they were, explaining you have to comply with COPPA, market for kids or not for kids. If you don't market for kids and FTC rules that it is for kids, you run the risk of a fine of over $42,000 per video. However, can I quick go back to something? Straight from the FTC website. What are the possible penalties for violating COPPA? The rule allows for civil penalties of up to $42,530 per violation. But the FTC considers a number of factors in determining the appropriate amount, including a company's financial condition and the impact a penalty could have on its ability to stay in business. Hence why, although YouTube was fined $170 million, they only paid $35,000. If FTC is going to come after a small channel like us, I guarantee you we are not going to be fined that total $42,530 per video, because they, like the FTC flat out states, they consider a number of factors in determining the appropriate amount to fine the entity involved.
So, this is.
And no, the top content creators are not going to be roasted. As far as this Disney vlogging community goes, those top content creators are not under COPPA. They are just like us. We are family friendly. We are not for kids. We are not covered under this COPPA guideline. If you're talking about top creators who do nothing but nursery rhymes or nothing but
teaching you ABCs,
teaching
you how to teach a child to tie their shoelaces,
or reviewing kids' toys or having videos of kids playing with toys, then those content creators are covered under COPPA, and in your words, they could be roasted because they are going to have to mark all their stuff for kids.
Which I think sucks too, in a way, because there are, like everything in the world, there's good stuff and there's bad stuff. For the good channels, the safe, family-friendly channels that actually do help, children with, learning ABCs that are legit, I feel bad for them because that could ruin them. But at the same time, there's a lot of bad stuff as well. So COPPA, FTC, they have to take precautions, you know what I mean, for that, just in case. But it's like everything else in the world. The internet is good and bad too, as well.
And the other thing too is, from what the social media lawyer in his phone conversation, they even said, just because a child appears in your video doesn't even make it for kids.
Exactly.
If you are still covered under that, this is safe for all ages, you are not under COPPA.
Yeah.
So.
Because just going back to the Disney community, just because, like I said, we are Disney travel, vacation planning, tips and tricks, content creators. What are some things that I'm going to say we are 90% safe from this COPPA law. The reason I'm giving 90 because there still could be those little things that are obviously directed towards kids, that could be filmed at Disney. And I'm thinking off the top of my head,
resort activity. There are resorts that have activities throughout the day that are
Definitely
definitely geared
or
towards
like
kids.
arts and crafts where it's
Yeah,
like
so
there.
like if you're there filming that, that's fine, but you better mark it for kids because
And
to be safe at least, I would mark that type of video for kids.
And I was telling Lisa, for point of view rides, every Disney content creator, we will give a point of view ride. Now, I'm not saying all point of view rides are going to be, wrong or safe or whatever. I think the ones that will fall that you would have to mark if you're doing a point of view ride, you would have to mark it for kids.
Or definitely consider marking it.
Yeah, is if I said, was talking to you guys and be like, hey, we're going to do a point of view ride on Dumbo.
Which we've done.
But something like that, because that is you associate that with not so much with adults, just thinking outside the box there. But if I want to do a point of view, which I'm going to do next week when Rise of Resistance comes out, that will be safe for all ages because the FTC recognizes that both a kid and adult will share that same interest, and that goes off of Star Wars.
But
that goes off when Guardians of the Galaxy point of view comes out. That is safe.
But going back to, let's say, the whole Dumbo ride, again, going back to what these phone conversations that these other YouTubers have had is, let's say your point of view of Dumbo is within a broader video. If that is just
then that's
2
fine.
minutes of a broader video that is meant for people of all ages, again, it is not directed to kids.
Yeah. So, I'm sorry if our voices were a little loud, but we just wanted to get this point across that, any content creator who is watching, look up that, you guys will have Twitter. Just type in FTC, go to their Twitter. They have the blog up there with this same information that Lisa read off to you. And you can see it in black and white, and you can get a better idea, a clearer idea of what your channel is. Now, going back, when we first got the email, I marked our channel as not for kids, not thinking anything of it. This was 2 weeks ago or whenever we got that email. And then of course the fear came in, and that takes over your mind because you're thinking, oh my God, $42,000 fines
per video,
everything. You just start, and then your mind just races. Well, I know I'm not for kids, but then again, you know what? I'm thinking about it. I got, I have this in here, and everything comes to your mind. I was victim of it.
We were both.
And every other content creator. If you said you weren't, I'm sure you probably were lying to yourself.
The other thing I wanted to quick mention, if I can think of it now, I don't know. Keep going. I lost it.
I lost it because you interrupted me. I lost it now. I lost it. But we're just trying to get that point across.
I remember what I was going to say. So one of the other vloggers we watched on their COPPA video with this update even asked the FTC, are you going to come after individual content creators? Because in the history of the FTC, they've never gone after individual content creators. It's always been after the organization. And the FTC pretty much asked them that. When in our history have we gone after individual content creators? It's always been after an organization because it's all about the matter of, are you collecting data from these kids under the age of 13? And as content creators, we don't have that capability of accessing that information unless someone under the age of 13 comments on the video and says their name, their age, where they live. That's the only way we're getting their information. We have no way to collect that data. It comes from these other organizations that have the capability of collecting this information and then putting those personalized ads on. So that's another factor to consider, is we don't have access to anybody's information unless they personally provide it to us.
Yeah, like say somebody's watching the live stream and be like, oh, hi, Tony, Lisa, I'm Billy Bob, I live on so-and-so, and yeah, that'd be the only way.
That's the only way.
That would be the only way.
They even say that just because a child watches your video, a child under the age of 13 watches your video, does not mean that your video is for kids.
Exactly.
Again, we are covered under that gray area. We are appropriate for all ages. So we are not covered under COPPA.
So once again, to go back over what we said a little bit ago, why didn't YouTube give us that option? And as we're going to say it again,
To save a buck.
to save a buck, because everything is about money in this world. How can we save it? How can we get more
And
of
like
it?
someone else said, it was also, again, going with the money, it was a way for them to make back what they lost in their wallet when they had to pay that $35,000
Restitution.
fine, whatever you want to call it.
Oh, so going back to, I remember what I was going to say. When I first, got the email and saying that I marked our stuff for not for kids, and then I was going back, and then I told you guys on the live video, the last one, that I was probably going to change it to where I could select each and individual video as for kids or not for kids and just do it that way. But with being enlightened with this new information, because we don't have for the general audience, that's what it is, the family friendly channel, it's general audience. I'm keeping it not for kids. So that's another reason this petition has been going around too. 1, to change the law. 2, for the clarification. 3, to get that third option.
To add that option, because although we're safe with marking it not for kids, we should be able to have that third option to put, hey, we're not specific to adult content. We are safe for all ages, but we're not for kids. We're not putting out those nursery rhyme videos, all that stuff that is definitely geared towards kids under the age of 12. Just because a 10-year-old watches our video does not mean we are for kids anymore. And it never meant that in the first place. But again, YouTube instilled all that fear in all of us that we were like, well, if a 10-year-old clicks on our video, then, we have to mark it for kids. No, we don't. FTC even says that if just because a child under the age of 13 watches your content, if you are safe for all ages, you are still not considered for kids. My rant is over.
Yeah, that's true. From what Mike said, yeah, tagging a video as non-kids and COPPA FTC believes it is not. This is what's dangerous because that's where the penalties apply. Yes, that's very true. For the stuff that is blatantly for kids and people want to lie about, content creators want to lie about it or whatever, not selecting properly, if the FTC feels it is, yes, that's when.
But COPPA is not going to come after channels that are geared towards all ages. That is what COPPA and the FTC...
They've clearly stated that.
They clearly stated, you are an exception. That just because a kid watches your video, you do not have to mark it for kids because you are geared towards all ages. They are going to go after those channels that are doing those nursery rhymes. Baby Shark, the toys...
So what should we mark your travel channel? Not for kids.
We're not for kids. We will keep it marked not for kids.
I think they were asking for them.
Until YouTube gives us that third option of marking it as safe for everyone.
Travel with the twins. Not for kids. I don't know. I didn't get notified. I've been hearing that the notifications haven't been going out. I've been hearing that through not just our channel, but a lot of.
Some people aren't. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I think that still goes with this whole COPPA and YouTube FTC thing.
Right now, we are safe. Under COPPA and the FTC, they clearly state that there is the exception to the rule, and we are part of that exception. We are not for kids, and we will not be targeted. Simple as that.
I'm just going off of what people have been writing.
I am not too sure about the other way around. If videos are tagged as for kids and the video itself has adult-related content, well, that's like a whole other issue.
Yeah, that's.
I don't know.
I don't know what happens.
That violation is going to be, because I know that also stems from that whole debacle that happened on the YouTube Kids app, which I think was with like all those Peppa Pig videos,
stuff,
where like all of a sudden, like in the middle of the video, this adult content was showing.
That's a different.
That's a whole other different.
More serious.
Yeah.
Law. I don't know that. I'm sure you can find that. I don't know. I'm trying to read people's comments.
Someone said my email to the FTC was questioning YouTube giving channels an option of 2 choices and how it affects my enjoyment, and that after all, one size does not it all, plus a boatload of other junk. So again, the FTC is not to blame for this because the FTC clearly states on their website that they acknowledge COPPA's exception, that there is that gray area of content where it's good for all ages. This was YouTube. So
the FTC is working with COPPA to help change those laws a little bit because they changed the COPPA law, or what's the word I'm looking for?
But
Tweak
really-
them a little bit every 10 years because of different technologies, different things like that, just trying to keep it up to date. So the FTC has stated on the Twitter, I believe, so far that they are working with
But I
COPPA
think
to
the main
change it a
thing
little
is
bit.
people need to now start emailing YouTube because it's YouTube that's not giving this option. It's not the FTC and it's not COPPA. It's YouTube that's just not giving the option.
Yeah.
FTC and COPPA acknowledge it. And they're the ones that are going to necessarily go through and they're going to be the ones to give these fines. But that's based off of their policy, not YouTube. It's based off of the policy. So if they're acknowledging that exception, that means that it's YouTube that is the one that's just making it more difficult. I want to go to someone that said, YouTube tagged a couple of our videos for kids, Frozen Ever After ride, and some meet and greets. I did hear and read somewhere, and I can't remember where it was, that just because YouTube is already marking certain things as for kids, that doesn't necessarily mean that your content is for kids. YouTube is not the decider of this.
No.
It is the FTC and COPPA. So if you are reading
YouTube
FTC
right now,
and COPPA, you want to base your decision off of their policy. YouTube is not going to be the one to hand out these fines. YouTube is just allowing the FTC access to all of the content on YouTube to determine who needs to be
So
fined.
what YouTube is doing right now when they're tagging people's videos, because I've been hearing this, I think maybe one or two of ours got tagged. It's just their way of saying, hey, you might want to look at this, but that's not the final ruling, as Lisa said. It's saying, hey, maybe a heads up, we'll give you some guidance that you might want to look over this chat or this video again, whether you set it to private, delete it, or, if you feel it's not for kids, then it's not for kids. But you have to choose appropriately.
Yeah.
I'm not telling people to do none of this.
If you are a channel that is creating those nursery rhymes, or your channel is all about kids' toys and there's no, it's clearly geared towards kids under the age of 12, you need to abide by the COPPA guidelines. But if you are a channel like ours, and for the majority of the Disney YouTube community, our content is safe for all ages, we are not.
But I will say still, choose wisely when you're filming at the parks, because you never know if there's, like we stated earlier, if you're at a hotel resort and you see this arts and crafts with these kids and you're like, oh, let me film this, like this to show people what's free. Yeah, well, you should maybe mark that as for kids. That's just an idea.
Unless that is a 2-minute clip of a bigger compilation that is geared towards all ages, then you are safe.
Exactly. But if that's what your main focus is, and your title of the video is that, and that's all it is, like your 2-minute video is that 2 minutes.
Like if you're doing an entire video on what you can do free at Disney, and that little activity that is geared directly towards kids is just 2 minutes of a whole compilation of,
you're fine.
For free, that's geared towards all ages, you are fine.
You're fine. But if you make your whole video just about that,
about free stuff that is
definitely geared
towards kids under the age of 12. Remember, we're not talking about kids that mean all minors 17 and under. We are talking about that group 12 and under.
Yeah.
12 and under. If you are filming something that's meant for those 13, 14, 15-year-olds, COPPA's, I don't want to say they don't care about that generation, but their guidelines are for kids under the age of 13, 12 and under. So I like how Mike said it. Take it with a grain of salt. That's pretty much what we had to have done from the beginning, and we didn't, because like everyone else, we let fear get to us. And so
fear is a very strong thing.
Friday we had our live vlog, and we were like, we don't know what we're gonna do. We're gonna take a back seat.
It was literally
more research.
The very next
morning, all this information came out. We were doing our research. We met up with.
I I read the thing that from the FTC that we
That we
shared
already
you.
reviewed.
We met up with one of our friends.
Yeah, I was gonna say we met it with Penda Flow. We were all talking, we were watching these things, and like it all makes so much sense. Yesterday we watched Dole Whip Dad's vlog. I think that was yesterday that we watched it. And like he's one that actually called up the FTC, spoke with a supervisor. You know, like these are people that really made and did their research because
Who was the one vlogger that gave us this full information? The social media lawyer.
I don't even remember.
Because I want to give credit to that video, or you know what I mean.
I'm sure I can find it.
I forget his name. I really do, so I apologize.
No, I'm
Because
sure.
I like to always give credit. All these are the variables I mentioned. Everything's a variable, but
we're safe.
But for
it is Ian Corzine.
Okay, Ian Corzine.
He even put what YouTube's not telling you about COPPA.
Yeah, watch that video. Ian Corzine.
Ian Corzine, last name Corzine.
That's where we got our information, and we were like,
he's a lawyer.
Yeah, he's a social media lawyer, and I was like, after listening to it, because I listened to it like a podcast, and then I read the actual COPPA ruling and what the FTC sent out, and I was like, it's clear as day that we're safe.
And David said Hot Wheels are toys geared towards kids, but I suspect the channel on the hobby of customizing Hot Wheels is safe, or is it? So it's all about what you're doing. There is a channel that Ian Corzine mentions, and I forget the name of the channel, but it's a group of adult men that like enjoy having Nerf gun fights and all this. Those are clearly kids' toys, but his content is geared towards all ages. So just because adult men are playing with kids' toys does not make it for kids. Again, they are safe like us because their content is geared towards all ages. Both kids and adults alike enjoy his content. So he is in that gray area like we are. We do not have to mark our stuff for kids.
That's right. We just want, and hopefully
YouTube
by January 1st, we have that gray area that we can click on that says either general audience or family friendly content.
Yeah.
You know, something like that.
I mean, marking it not for kids right now, it's not going to hurt us, but it would just be nice for YouTube to acknowledge that gray area that COPPA clearly has acknowledged.
And give content creators that option.
Yeah. Because I know that there are content creators out there that is not for kids at all. It's not safe for all ages. And so marking it not for kids for them makes complete sense. Between these two options, marking it not for kids makes sense to us. But I want to have that option where we can mark it. This is
because I feel the creators will feel like a load off their chest. You know what I mean? Like,
hey,
we finally have this option, you know?
But us marking it not for kids right now, since we're only given the two options, and FTC looks at our stuff, we're geared towards all ages, they're not going to come after us.
No, they're not. So I just, you know.
And if they decided, again, FTC clearly states that they take in multiple factors when determining the size of the fine. They just say that they could fine up to $42,000, but they take into account the financial status of that content creator.
Now, after listening to us, if you're a content creator and you still feel a little weary back and forth, look up this.
Look up Ian Corzine. Look up Dole Whip Dad. Those two spoke directly with people from the FTC, maybe even COPPA, I'm not quite sure. I know definitely the FTC, and had conversations with them about this gray area. And watching their videos gave us so much relief that it was like, my gosh. And especially they're both reviewing this FTC stuff, but we look it up and we're like, this was here the whole time?
Yeah.
So.
And it definitely makes sense. So I would just say, look up all that stuff we told you. It's out there for you to see, and you know, you'll have a better judgment. But it is there. The content is there for you to look up. This, you don't need like some special password or something. Anybody can view this.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to put that out there to maybe kind of just give some ease, you know, but I'm still not telling you guys what to do. You figure that for yourself, but to give a little more guidance
Someone just
for you.
asked, are there other steps they have to take? Like, will the FTC give a warning on a video before giving a fine? Well, the FTC is already giving a warning on their website.
But they could
I don't know if
something
they-
might be stated
Yeah.
maybe like 2 weeks before January 1st.
I don't know if they will, but
I'm sure the FTC is going to make
But
one more big statement.
you
my
read-
opinion.
This is all about COPPA. So go and read the COPPA policy. These things are there in black and white. They're going to go after those content creators that are definitely geared towards kids under the age of 12. Those channels that are making, compilations of all nursery rhymes, of, reviewing children's toys geared towards those kids. Like, we're not in that category. We don't have to worry about it. And I'm going to say the majority of Disney content creators are within our category. We have nothing to worry about. So we're going to keep making videos. We're going to keep doing what we've been doing.
This goes, obviously, because we've been talking about Disney content creators, but for other content creators who do different things, this goes with video games as well.
Yeah.
You'll be fine. From how I've been reading, because I was trying to think outside the box. Okay, if I was a video game channel and I'm reading this, from the FTC, how would I be? I would mark not for kids. Arts and crafts. Well,
It depends what the arts and crafts
that
are.
depends. So I would probably suggest
Again,
to you guys maybe
your
select
arts and-
individually.
Yeah, are
you
your
know?
arts and crafts dealing with little kid activities where kids are in your video and you're showing them like popsicle stick stuff? Or are your arts and crafts you're doing quilting and knitting and all that where like
Now,
That's
like I
not-
said, they did give an example that Lisa read earlier today, and I'll say it again, that the FTC found that there was
an online dress up game that they deemed is
for kids. So if your arts and crafts, just
What are your
think-
arts and crafts? Then deem it that way. And if you have a whole slew that range from just for kids to all ages to just for adults, then mark each video individually.
if the video game pulls in many more kids, I think that's
No, just because a video brings in kids as an audience does not necessarily mean it's for kids. It's only if that video is clearly geared towards kids under the age of 13. If it is geared towards all ages, it does not matter if a kid that is 10 watches your video. Because if it's safe for all ages, that obviously means that a 10-year-old is going to enjoy it as well as a 40-year-old.
It's like, let's put in perspective, what's one game that I could think of? Mario. Kids like Mario, adults love Mario. So, if you're reviewing and playing like that game, I think you'll be fine, honestly. Just because Mario shows up doesn't mean that that's strictly for kids.
And again, I think it was Dole Whip Dad even asked the question. So if I'm at Disney and I'm watching a parade of fireworks, do I have to be worried about it? No, because all ages enjoy Disney fireworks and parades.
Yeah, they understand that. So the
They
FTC understands.
that. And if you are really that concerned or you're still not sure, go onto the FTC website, pull up the COPPA policy, get on the phone if you want, although I've heard it takes a lot of time to get to someone that's going to actually be honest with you. But if you have the time and you're willing to, call it. But I'm going to say, in general, if you are a Disney content creator similar to us and similar to most of the other community, you are safe. You don't have to market for kids. You're not going to be fined $42,000.
Same as game channels. I want to put that out there too. Same as games. I know we keep talking Disney all the time.
Well, that's because we're part of the Disney.
Yeah, but I want to, make this, for the general audience as well.
Pretty much, you should know if you are making videos geared towards kids under the age of 12. You should.
Somebody just said we are totally for protecting the children. You know what I mean? So that's not what this video is.
That's not what this is about.
We are all for protecting the kids.
Obviously, if a 10-year-old is watching our kid, their data should not be getting collected. But we as content creators have no access to collect their data.
Yeah.
Which is why
we
the
think
FTC has told other vloggers that have called them and stated, we have never come after an individual content creator. We have no access to their personal data unless they are commenting on our video and giving it to us.
I said in the last live one that I feel YouTube should have a system similar to Apple that if you, like Apple, you want to purchase something, you have to put in a certain like 4-digit PIN that verifies your age. I think YouTube needs to do something going into this January 1st to stay in compliance, and to keep kids' information data.
But that has to
safe.
come from YouTube. YouTube has to be the one to recognize and stop what they were doing and stop collecting data from those kids under the age of 13 without parental consent. But as individual content creators, I have no control what YouTube is collecting.
Yeah.
I can say that we don't collect data. We have no way to collect it unless that child under the age of 12 comments on our video and says, hey, I'm so-and-so, I'm 9 years old, I'm from this. That's the only way I'm getting their personal information. Yes. I have no way to even track the kids searching for our videos.
Well,
so
I think that's going to be
that. We're safe. We're fine. We're not marking our stuff for kids. We'll mark it not for kids until YouTube decides to give us the option of
the general audience.
The general audience.
Now, I still want to put out there, we do have a link to the petition that's going on. I still think people should sign that petition. It's free. All they ask for is just an email address, and that's about it. You're not going to get anything from that email.
But I also want to encourage people to reach out to YouTube and have YouTube actually give us this option because, like I said, it's not the FTC and it's not COPPA that's not giving us this option. It's YouTube that's not giving us the option.
Yeah. So I say do a little bit of both because you want to still save family friendly because anything could happen.
Because FTC is still working with COPPA.
Anything could still happen. But at this point right now, I feel like 90% safe and weight lifted off my shoulder. But anything is still possible to change, especially we're
reach out to the
month
FTC
away.
And make sure
leave a comment
and encourage them to be like, hey, we want you to continue to recognize that there is this population that's that gray area that's not just for kids, but that's not for kids.
Because there's a lot of great family-friendly content creators out there. We watch a bunch of them.
Yeah. But also reach out to YouTube and say, hey, you did us wrong.
No, don't say it like that. I always tell people, be professional, and just say, hey, we should have the general audience option, from the COPPA guidelines.
Under COPPA guidelines, we're allowed this general audience.
Can we please, get come January 1st, get that option or something like that, instead of just keep saying for kids or not for kids, because even on this live stream, I had to click for kids or not for kids. So still
by the
have
time
that option.
It's not for kids.
Yeah, exactly. But I think that's going to be it. I went over a little longer than I wanted to, but that's okay. I hope this video is helpful. Like I said, if not, or still, confused, just do some research. It's all out there. You can see it black and white from the FTC website, the COPPA website, those channels that we mentioned for you to check out because they actually spoke to the FTC. One of them being a social media lawyer, the other
one is actually part of the Disney community.
Is part of the Disney community. So look that stuff up, and I guarantee you're going to feel a lot better about yourself. You're going to feel a lot better. That's it, guys. I have nothing else for right now. So no more videos from us about COPPA until maybe, 2 weeks before. You know what I mean? And they decide to throw a humdinger. Do people say that anymore? I remember when, parents used to say that. Humdinger. Yeah, I don't know. It was very random. But, throw something out there that we go, okay, we got to address something else. But for now, I think this is all pretty written in stone, for now.
And white.
So, but still send your comments still to FTC, the petition, leave your comment for the FTC, but be professional. Still tweet at YouTube and just say, hey, can we,
give us the option.
Give us that general audience option, And I think we can do this, as content creators and the viewers, we can all be heard and we'll get it done. All right, guys, I think that's going to be it. Have a glorious night. It's only Monday, Turkey Day this week, Turkey Day. Oh, and let me just put this out here too. This has nothing to do with COPPA or anything right now. But I know a lot of people who are watching this watch our channel. A couple people asked us if we are going to the Character Warehouse for Black Friday. Technically, I guess these days, Thanksgiving night, you're out of your mind. I am not going, but for some reason, we think it's a good idea to go to Hollywood Studios,
On Thanksgiving morning.
and we're gonna rope drop it. We somehow thought that was a good idea. We did it last year, but we did it at Magic Kingdom, and that was nuts. So kind of curious to see what a different
Hollywood
part.
Studios instead.
Yeah, see what a different part does. So if you guys are out and about on Thanksgiving Day at Hollywood Studios, we'll be there with you as
Be there
well.
At least in the morning.
Yeah.
I have no idea what time
For the
we have to
craziness.
be at your parents' house.
I don't know. I'm thinking 2 o'clock.
I don't know.
Something. So we'll get there. Was it opening at 8 o'clock? I don't know. I don't blame you for not going to work. Yeah, it's not going to happen.
No. Plus,
But-
we both work Black Friday.
Yeah, I work Black Friday. I get up at 4 in the morning. So that's not a good time. But all right, guys, enjoy the rest of your night. We'll see you next time. Vlog finito.